Thanks for joining Hit Exchange Media's Peer Exchange. You're watching the second segment of a three-part installment exploring the maturation of mobile devices used in healthcare and sponsored by Good Technology. In this segment, our panelists discuss the possibility of tablets replacing laptops in the healthcare arena. Our panelists are Humberto Quintanar, Chief Information Officer of Antelope Valley Hospital in Lancaster, California, David Kimson, CIO at Maricopa Integrated Health System in Phoenix, Arizona, and Dmitry Volkman, Good Technology's Vice President of Enterprise Product Strategy and Planning. Now to kick off the discussion, let's join moderator, Hit Exchange Executive Editor, Eric Hibbs.
So 11 years ago, Bill Gates predicted that tablets would be the most popular form of PCs sold in America, which hasn't happened yet. And recently, Tim Cook announced that in less than 2 years, Apple sold 55 million iPads. It took more than 11 years for it to sell that many Macs. Across the board, desktop sales were down in 2011, and smartphone sales outpaced PCs. As tablet platforms mature, how long do you think it will be before they potentially are a viable solution to replace traditional desktop or notebook PCs in healthcare?
Part of the problem is that a lot of the applications that are used in the healthcare industry today are not tablet friendly. So it is very difficult for somebody to stand there with a tablet and try to do documentation or charting or whatever it is that we do versus having a keyboard. Once the industry redesigns all of their applications so that they will be tablet friendly, then that whole thing is going to change. But right now, my opinion, I think the tablet has a niche for certain things, maybe the physicians to do computerized physician order entry, where all they have to do is point and click. But if they have to get on a keyboard or if they need to type something, the tablet's not made for that yet. The applications are not made, the tablet's not made for typing, so it's not really conducive to that type of use.
All right, Dave?
So we've been using motion tablets in the clinical setting for a little while. When the iPad came out, we've done some degree of testing of that in a clinical environment. I tend myself personally not to be an early adopter by nature, but I push myself to be so that I understand the limits of the technologies that our customer base might ask for. My first experience with a tablet was an Android tablet. My second experience was an iPad, and now an iPad 2. And initially, I would have responded that a tablet straight out of the box is never going to replace a laptop or a desktop, largely for the reasons that Humberto points out. It's extremely good for consuming content, and it's extremely good on applications were designed that are designed natively for that platform. Historically, it hasn't been very good, and it's very user-unfriendly for creating content. So you can think in the healthcare setting, the different workflows that a physician or a nurse might go through, and some of them lend themselves very well to a tablet, perhaps reviewing a chart or reviewing a result and acknowledging that is something that could be done very quickly on either a phone or a tablet. Documentation, however, is another issue if they've got to do a lot of typing. Personally, I've taken my iPad and I've paired it with a Bluetooth keyboard embedded into a case, and for at least my purposes, I've been able to get rid of the laptop. When I travel now, it's the iPad exclusively. But even that Bluetooth pairing and the application limitations that Humberto points out does not give us the freedom at this point to completely remove the laptop as a solution in some of our clinics.
The two major trends we've seen in mobile devices in general are BYOD and apps. So the whole concept of App Store, there's an app for everything. Now, interestingly enough, this phenomenon is starting to translate into the enterprise. So there's a lot of pressure for enterprises to deliver apps on those mobile devices. And before this show, we actually surveyed some of our healthcare customers. And the interesting data was that 1/3 are considering that they will build or develop application for mobile devices this year, and 2/3 will acquire mobile applications for those devices. So I believe that as those applications becomes available, there will be more scenario or a larger population of individuals that will be able to switch from their laptop to their tablets because they will have the 4, 5, 6, or 10 applications they really need to do whatever they need to do.
It's a great tool for us to purchase instead of a laptop or a PC, a desktop, because you're looking at $800, $900 versus $500. It's great savings for the hospitals. And I mean, I can't wait for the applications to catch up to the tablet.
The other very interesting angle is that these are devices that not necessarily IT have full control of, as the PC were. So until there are the solutions, so you guys can have the confidence that you can manage and protect your data, there will be limitations. Because in the PC world, it's totally different than in the mobile device world.
That's a great point.
Eric, I wanted to comment also, the EHR vendor that we're using has released a native iPad app and a native iPhone app, and we're in the process right now of piloting that, and at least initial response of that pilot has been very positive. So I think as those applications are rolled out into a production environment for us, I think we're going to see some growth in that end. The other thing that's of interest is a lot of the medical students, as they're going through school now, are getting rid of their textbooks, and they're being replaced with electronic books. As the students are coming through and getting more used to doing their everyday business on that type of device, they're going to expect and even demand that in the healthcare environment as well. Our theft rate on iPad devices is much higher than our theft rate on laptops. So
It's interesting.
there is a cost of doing business there, and extra security concerns that we need to be aware of.
Similar concerns. The iPad cannot stay in one place. If you lose sight of it, it'll be gone in no time, particularly in the area where our hospital is. Laptops used to disappear, not as much anymore, and I think that I've talked to a couple of companies that are working on trying to separate the content from personal content versus hospital content, so that if the iPad or the iPhone or the Android were to disappear, you can immediately disable that piece of content so that the person can do whatever they want with the phone, but it doesn't have the hospital content in it, which is extremely important. Today, if we put content on an iPhone and you lose it, the only thing we can do is turn it into a brick. You lose it, we're going to turn it off completely, and it's useless for anybody. Let's say a physician decides to go away, they don't work for the hospital anymore, and they take their iPhone. We can separate that content and erase it and let them continue on his or her merry way and keeping their own content.
This concept of separating the personal from the enterprise has been one of the core themes that we've been doing at Good Technology, initially for our email and collaboration application, and now with the platform we allow either yourself or ISVs to apply that to the application. So you really control the content in those few apps, and if somebody leaves, you turn that off, and the rest of the device remains intact. So my pictures, my Facebook stay there. So there are definitely technologies there, we have that as well. So.
This is one of the reasons that we moved to a Good platform versus a BlackBerry platform when we went to a stipend and a personal device. We wanted the flexibility and the capability to wipe out that corporate information at our discretion. But the end user, and I understand why, didn't want us to completely reset their device and wipe out all their personal content, which on BlackBerry was the only way for us to wipe that device, was to wipe it fresh. Now, one of the challenges right now that we're having, and that Good has not yet been able to address for us, is around document management. Email is great, calendaring is great, all within that secure container. I need that environment to be extended so that I can allow users within the corporate environment to identify documents that can be pushed out, not via an email, but via folder synchronization to that device so that they can access them on that device, contained within that secure environment, encrypted, and again, at my discretion, be wiped out.
Yeah, interestingly enough, as I said, we launched our platform for those third parties to do apps in November last year. And one of the major areas where there was interest for ISVs or from customers is in the document management. So you're going to see solutions to solve that problem, either from good, we're going to do some of our own, but also from other ecosystem partners or vendors that are using our technology to solve that problem. So it's coming.
The industry's been experimenting with various form factors, performance specifications, and price points, as you had mentioned, Dave. What do you think would be the appropriate tablet that would actually capture the interest of the healthcare IT community?
I think it depends on the physician. If you talk to one of our ER physicians, for example, they want to have a very small device. They can put it in their pocket, pull it out whenever they need to look up whatever they have to look up and put it back in, and that's it. If you talk to the physicians on the floors that are going around seeing patients at their leisure and trying to do more things, they want a little bit larger device. They want it so that it is portable, they can type, they want to touch the screen. In fact, one of the physicians wanted to do their handwriting on the screen and save that handwriting. And I said, well, wait a minute, why would you want to do that when I can take your handwriting and turn it into text? Oh no, I want to keep my handwriting. Wanted to save that image. And today, the applications that we have will take the handwriting and put it into text, but they will not save that image. And so it made it very difficult. He said, no, I don't want this. I want something that will save my handwriting on a picture and put it on the medical record. So it really depends on the physician, the age. Some of them won't even get close to any devices. They want to continue to use paper, and you're not going to get them to do that, ever.
Yeah, so I agree, and depending on the use case, a small screen may work fine. I think, again, for something like a medication refill authorization, large screen isn't needed. On the other hand, if you're going to do a chart review and you want to look at that patient's history, small screen is going to be very difficult to really digest that and get through that. So kind of another challenge, though, that you have to consider, and I know our EHR vendor is struggling with this now. They've ported their application to an iPhone and to an iPad, which have standard screen sizes or standard resolution. You can develop to a platform when you know what the resolution is. Their intention is to also port that same application to Android, but with all of the different devices out there at different resolutions, they have to make some decisions on which size screens and which resolutions they're going to support, because it's really not practical to develop one for every single possibility or iteration of screen size that might exist. To the extent I think that we could stick with use cases on a phone-sized device and use cases on a 8.5 by 11 size sheet of paper, I think that would be appropriate. Other things we need to consider on the form factor, though, especially when we're in a hospital environment, is how are you going to hold it? The iPad's very slippery. The case, some sort of handle on it is important, I think. The same thing about the ability to disinfect it. You want a device in a hospital environment that you can wipe down without damaging it. I think if a tablet company comes up with an iOS type device that has those elements to it, drop protection, for example, the sturdiness of it, it would be it may drive the cost up. It would drive the cost up, but it would be a wiser choice for hospitals to go down that path versus a standard consumer device.
Dimitri, anything to add?
No, well, that reinforces the emphasis for us to be multi-platform and support all those various form factor and devices, so that when you have a policy of protecting your data, you can be sure it will be applied on all those different form factors. So that's one thing we take into consideration, and that's why we invest in all the different platforms for that.
Thanks for watching segment 2 of this 3-part panel discussion sponsored by Good Technology. Be sure to tune into the remaining segments in which our panelists talk about mobile operating system and device trends, as well as mobile device security strategies.